Hey, everybody. It is my complete privilege and honor to welcome my lifelong friend, Barry Spilchuk. I've known Barry for probably 35 years.
Yeah.
Barry was a resident in North Bay for many, many years, many family businesses. He's the author of The Tiger Factor, which I'm going to show you a little bit about that, if we can get a good shot of that. The Cancer Dance, another book he's written. Co-author of an amazing book that came out a few years back, A Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul. That was incredible. And Barry, you have so many more accomplishments. I don't have the time to read them all. You're that awesome. And I really appreciate you for hopping on today. Barry Spilchuk, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Paul. And I got to tell you, to be interviewed by you about North Bay, even though I'm 63 years old now, and I've had the blessing of traveling all over the world, but people say, when they go to introduce me, they say, oh, well, where are you from and everything? I say, well, I was born in Hamilton. I currently live in Toronto, but my hometown is North Bay. Yeah. I love this city so much. And half my life I've spent in North Bay. But when the kids moved away and we got grandkids down here, Toronto seems to be the place to be right now, because that's where the love is for me. So, follow the love, right?
That's awesome. Barry, do you remember way back when? So I'm 56. I'd say this was 37 years ago when you were trying to teach me about public speaking, and we were down at the Best Western. Oh, and you were videotaping it, and I was bleep shitting my pants. I'll never forget that, man. You were so patient and so good with me. I was like a total loser doing that.
Yeah, but hey, we all got to start somewhere, right? And now it's to the point of like you'll stand up in front of anybody and talk about anything, right? Like I like that thing about you. You're like that guy who's like a mosquito in a nudist colony. You're so excited, you don't know where to begin, right? It's like, oh, this is so cool,
Yeah, you know what? Working with Scott at Clark Communications. Of course, he's my favorite brother-in-law. He's really helped me too, try to break out of that shell. And we've done a couple of group meetings. And although I still get the butterflies, I'm learning to kind of get them to fly a little bit more in formation. But it's still there. They don't. I don't think they ever disappear.
No, they don't. I mean, you're in a situation. Even today, here I am. I'm wondering. Okay, well, there's people in North Bay wondering, well, who's this guy and why is he on the air? Why is he talking about North Bay? If he loves it so much, why doesn't he live there? All these self doubts. It's like, oh man. But the thing is, you go out there, and my biggest premise about public speaking is, if you've earned the right to talk about what you're talking about, you can stand up anywhere. Like if you want me to talk about nuclear fusion, I'm not your guy, okay? But if you want me to talk about public speaking or bouncing back from setbacks or how amazing North Bay is, I'm one of the guys who can stand up and wave that flag. And what's cool is, not only have you been there forever, but those transplants that we call your brother-in-law, Scott Clark, he just enamored himself to North Bay just by showing up. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but when he was on the radio, his very first day on the radio, I was his first guest.
Oh, really, eh?
Yes, they stopped the radio show because they were doing the transfer of hosts, and they sent, now they had arranged this with Patty Geisel, right? Yeah. And they sent Scott to my home with a remote crew, and he knocks on my door, and I knew he was coming, but I'm holding my son Mike, who was like 1 at the time, and Scott goes, "Hi, I'm Scott Clark." And I went, "Well, who are you? And like, why are you here?" And we ended up going around the city, and on the radio, we were shooting baskets at the YMCA on the radio. I mean,
how crazy, eh?
And then the thing is, when Scott Clark opens his mouth, love comes out. Yeah. Integrity comes out. Smartness comes out. You know that he cares. And that's why North Bay is so freaking amazing, is because when you have those people like Scott and you, and they rise to a place of prominence, people just listen because they know you're telling the truth. And then, what's really kind of cool is when you hear truth, people just want to say, well, tell me more,
Yeah. Listen, I've seen how Scott can work a room, probably much like you. The guy's incredible. I've only seen 2 or 3 people that can work a room like Scott, Peter McEwen, and yourself. There's a talent that lies in that you approach a group of people and you leave them laughing and better off than before you got there. not a lot of people can do that.
Well, thank you. Well, Scott and Peter are really, really funny. I don't have jokes. I show up and I play with whatever's in the room, even if it's a hairy beast like you, So.
So tell me, Barry, what are you up to nowadays? What's going on? I know this is a relatively new book. I just bought it. You can see I'm halfway through it. Yeah. Haven't done it yet. So when did this come out?
This came out just before Christmas. And as a matter of fact, let's relate this to what's going on in North Bay right now. Okay. Because I know everybody's challenged about whatever's going on in the economy and things like that. So that book came out as it was a dream that I held inside for probably 25 years. Because all of the books I've written are about inspiration and motivation. And yet I had a secret passion that I didn't say never told, but I was hired as a sports psychologist, and I'll use the word lightly psychologist because I'm not a licensed psychologist, but as a sports mind coach. And many of you in North Bay will remember Peter Minogue and Brad Minogue, and they attained great levels of curling status nationally.
Yeah.
Well, Brad Minogue's coach, when they were teenagers, they had been to the Nationals once, but they lost their mojo. And they called me, secretly, like no one knew, but they called me, and I worked with them, and I worked with them once. And we talked about the mindset and the heart set of a champion. And when it was over, and because when Dave Sarasano hired me, I worked for free. So it's easier to write a refund check when you work for free, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's do one and see if the boys like me. Because here I was an old fart. I was in my 30s, right? And these guys were teenagers. Who wants to listen to an old fart, right? Yeah. But when it was over, the boys said to Dave, they said, can we get him back? And ultimately, we won a local tournament. Then all of a sudden, we won the provincial tournament. And they came to my wife and said, can we take Barry to the Nationals with us? And so, I mean, the word got out, and we did really, really well at the Nationals, and we didn't win, but then the word got out, and Nipissing University had me come in for their volleyball team, and they were in the country, they were ranked really low. But I worked with them twice, and they came and they beat the third-ranked team in the country just because of a mindset and a heart shift. Wow. And so I always had this secret passion to write this book on Tiger, but I went, I played the mental game, like, who me?
Yeah.
So there was a fellow in North Bay, he shall remain nameless, and we did a 90-day challenge. And I said, what would you like to have happen in the next 90 days? And this is the same question I'm asking to all your viewers right now, Paul. What would you like to have different in your life 90 days from now? Because the very first book I wrote, it was called The Magic of Mastermind Teams. And there's Paul Barton, another North Bay gem. And we wrote this in 1994, and it was about how to quantum leap your effectiveness in 90 days. So I took on this young gentleman. He's just a phenomenal guy. And I said, in 90 days, what do you want to be different? And I'll be your partner, and we'll do this. And I said to him, that he gave me his goal, and I said to him, here's what I want to do. I want to, even though I've written 10 or 12 books already, I want to write a book on Tiger Woods and about sports psychology and how to overcome that. And what happens is, I said, I will have it written, done, produced, edited, published, and have it on sale on Amazon in the 90 days. And I said, my biggest hurdle was I've never been on Amazon. I didn't know how to put a book on Amazon, right? And so he said, okay. So he made his deal, I made mine. On the 88th day, this book appeared on Amazon. Now,
well, that's a different cover.
Exactly. So as life would have it, okay, 13 days after this book appears on Amazon, Tiger wins another tournament.
Unreal.
So I went, is this book like gone? So I said, well, how do I, again, in the spirit of bouncing back and in the spirit of what's the bless in this mess, I went back to the drawing board, exactly the same book. I added one page. And on the page it said breaking news. And I didn't like this cover anyway, because it was an Amazon design cover. So I hired a cover designer, okay, and we came up with this cover.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, ta-da! And so it came out, 30 days later. And I made one little announcement about it on Facebook. And but I didn't promote it because there's all kinds of stuff in the back of the book where you can go and, improve your golf. Because I came to North Bay and I recorded 62 videos on how to have a better golf score just using your mind. Okay. I haven't told anybody about it yet because I haven't put those videos online yet because I've got other priorities. So
Sure.
So the challenge to you, Paul, and all the people watching this video and who will watch it as long as it's on in time, is what are you going to do in the next 90 days? And if the yogurt hits the fan and you end up with this, but you're supposed to end up with this, how are you going to adjust?
Right.
Okay? So you have to be able to adjust on the fly.
You talk about mindset. I don't know if you've read the book Can't Hurt Me from David Coggins, military SEAL. Incredible what this guy put himself through, running 100 miles in 24 hours on 3 different events, almost back to back. Like, it's incredible, but really everything is a mindset.
Yep.
And we've got to get mentally tough.
Oh, that's for sure. And the thing is, no matter who you are or how great you are, you're going to have opposition. Okay. And but what I found over the years, especially being 63 now and being through all of this stuff, 2 cancers, an accident, a bankruptcy, just all of this stuff, all in 18 months, by the way.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, how do you bounce back from that? The biggest opposition and the biggest self-talk is going to be from your own mind. It's going to be the games of who, me, what if I put this out there and they don't love me? What if I, and again, a lot of people say, well, they won't like me, but I like to get to the bottom faster. And like is just a socially acceptable word for love. They won't like me. They won't love me. And if you're motivated by love or money, well, but I want the money, but I need the love. So now it's like, if I ask you to buy something from me and you say no, that means you don't love me. So why would I even ask? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to serve and serve and serve and serve and serve. And I'll just bend over backwards till you finally say, hey, Barry, can I buy something from you? I would never ask the question, hey, Paul, you want to buy this? I mean, I wouldn't. I just would serve and serve and serve. But that's all part of the lesson, because I always say there's a blessing in every mess. So now that I'm growing up, I still see myself as the little 3-year-old boy looking for dad's approval and, helping my dad. He used to run 7-Up trucks when we lived in Hamilton. And I would say, that's my daddy's truck, right? And so, I couldn't carry a case, so he'd make me carry a bottle while he's carrying the case, and I was helping my dad, So sometimes I still see myself as that guy,
Yeah, that's interesting. Your dad was the 7-Up guy in Hamilton. My dad was the ice cream guy in Hamilton. And then they both ended up in North Bay. Yeah. Your father, Gene, had Seymour Windows and Doors. I'll never forget the day he walked me through and gave me a tour of the building and how these massive panes of glass he just lets go and the air softly. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure it was gonna. I think he likes showing people that really is like.
Well, here's a little poor farm boy from Saskatchewan who was raised in the Depression. Yeah, and he does well in his 7-Up truck in Hamilton. He does well as an insurance salesman. Him and my uncle came to North Bay on a fishing weekend in 1967. He comes back. They had a few too many pops, and they came back. And my dad says to my mom, "Honey, we bought a car wash." What? I mean, Matt Damon bought a zoo. My dad bought a car wash, right? Yeah. And so in 1967, we moved there, and then I saw all the struggles they had as small business people. But I mean, back in the day, people would drive into the back of the car wash. We would ask them to get out. We would vacuum the car. We would steam off the dirt. We would get inside, crawl up, do the windows, wash it by hand, and dry it by hand at the other end. And we charged $3.50.
Wow.
When the dad had to raise the price to $4, people called him a crook. And it was like, and it hurt his feelings so bad. And it was like, so he finally got out of that business, became a handyman. And then all of a sudden, and here's part of the challenge for all of us. Dad even though he was knocked down many times, all he did was he kept showing up. He showed up as a handyman. Absolutely. He ended up buying a motel, and then he started fixing up the motel. And then, here he is. A lot of people say, "Oh, I won't." A lady calls and say, "Please fix the door on my door handle." And my dad, who was called Gene the handyman, he'd show up and fix it. Other people say, "I'm not getting in my truck unless it's $100." And my dad go, "Oh, I'll fix it." And then the lady would go, "Gene, since you're here, can you build me a fence?" I mean, and that's how it is. And that's the way it is in this economy these days. You give and you give and you give. And all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, I want to play with you at a deeper level." Yeah. And then one of my biggest memories after Northgate Square opened, your dad had the post office in that. And I would purposely go there to mail my stuff just so I could meet your dad, even though I didn't know you and I didn't even know who he was. I just knew that there was this guy in the middle of the mall who would whistle, you know, and make you feel happy just by being there. And
he was awesome for that.
And just in case you don't know this, you are your father's son.
Thank you.
When people show up and they see you, they go, "Oh my God, who is that guy? I want more of that guy." And so congratulations for carrying on his legacy.
Thank you. Listen, I've got a little surprise happening here, okay? Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
See if we can make this happen. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Dude.
I am so humbled to have Penny Tremblay and Barry Spilchuk on the same darn Zoom.
Woo!
Awesome.
A penny for your thoughts.
I've always wanted to Zoom bomb somebody. And
you go.
There's nobody better to Zoom bomb than Barry Spilchuk.
Oh my God, what a blessing. I should hang up now because like I don't deserve to be in the same room as this woman, you know?
You know
but
what?
Paul,
I want to tell you that Barry, if you know, you were the biggest inspiration in my writing career and my speaking career. And I feel like I'm just getting off the launching pad, but I don't think I would be, I think it would have just been a dream had I not been your neighbor, lived right across the street from you. And Paul Barton was very instrumental in that as well. So I just really want to thank you. And I want to tell you that we miss you in North Bay.
I miss you guys too. And Paul, since you're here and since we got Penny here, as soon as she got on, I reached for this and I turned to the page. Remember this book, The Cancer Dance? Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this is all about promoting North Bay and how awesome North Bay is. Well, when I got cancer, I was living in Toronto. But who came to visit me? It was the people in North Bay. And look who's in this picture. Okay. Penny Tremblay, Scott Clark, and Karen Samuel. They're the ones who showed up. And I woke up after my first, when they said, "You're in trouble, get your affairs in order." And it was like, who showed up? But people from North Bay in the dead of winter in February, you know, and they show up. And am I looking at angels? And I went, well, and I saw Scott there. I went, well, I'm not so sure if that's an angel.
I remember Scott telling me about that, him going down and talking to you and spending some time. And that's North Bay. That's the community, right?
Well,
that's awesome.
And since you got Penny on the line, okay, one of the things I want to encourage for North Bay people when they're going through their stuff is that how great North Bay is. I've always had this philosophy, even when I was Chamber of Commerce president way back in the early 1990s. I've always believed that people support what they help create. Okay?
Right.
People support what they help create. So one of the first things I did when I banged the gavel as chamber president, I said, there'll be no more wine and cheese at the North Bay Chamber of Commerce. And they went, oh, well, Barry doesn't drink, so, oh my God. And I said, no, from now on, it's going to be no more wine and cheese. It's going to be booze and schmooze. And so some of the older members went, oh no, what have we done? And some of the press went, oh boy, here we go, right? But I started declaring out loud, because I took over in the grip of the fiercest recession that North Bay had ever seen since the Depression, and up until now that we're going through now, right?
Yeah.
And I banged the gavel and I said, from now on, we're not going to talk about recession. We're going to talk about what we want when we're out of this recession. And what ended up happening is that we created a movement, the whole team, not just me. We created a movement for reasons to belong to the chamber, okay? And then we got through it and everything went fantastic. In the middle of this recession, we didn't raise membership fees 1 penny, but we had 28% boost in membership.
Wow.
In the middle of a recession. And they had no increase in membership at all. And why? Because we set it out there and gave people something to look forward to. And then right now, I also have a business philosophy that success creates gaps. And what do I mean by that? Is when I did this book, A Cup of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I tapped into Mark and Jack's franchise system. I was the 7th book in the series, and this book sold 580,000 copies around the world. Wow. But I remembered, here was the gap. The publisher kept all the money, Mark and Jack and I got 25 cents each for this book. Now, it was 25 cents US, so it was like $1.3 million Canadian, so it was all right, you know. But there was gaps there. And I always remembered, like, people would call. I went through 3,000 stories to put 80 stories in this book.
Wow.
And I remember the person calling me saying, well, am I going to be in the book? And I said, you know, we have 140 stories that were finaled. I liked your story, but the community votes on it. And she didn't get in. Well, I just remember her heartbreak for not getting in. And I said, boy, if I ever create a new series, we're gonna stop that. So under the premise of success creates gaps, I said, how could we do Chicken Soup for the Soul for North Bay? And that's when we came up with You're My Hero. And this book would not, You're My Hero, North Bay, 2007. And you'll notice the co-author, this was not set up because I didn't know Penny was coming, Penny Tremblay.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. I forgot all about that book. That's right.
Yeah. And this book here, now, okay, forgive me for going offline, but there's something here I got to grab.
Go ahead.
Like you're never supposed to go off camera.
Penny, I'm so glad you Zoom bombed us.
I'm so glad too. I mean, you know, I've never had an opportunity to Zoom bomb anybody, and my hacking skills are pretty awesome, aren't they? Hacked right in.
That's awesome.
So here's the deal. Thank you for letting me disappear. Okay. So Penny and I said, okay, let's do this. And the premise was nobody gets left out. So if you submit a story, we left the story on the website, and everybody's name and their hero's name got put in the book. And if it wasn't for Penny, this book wouldn't have happened. So I go to Canadian Tire, and here's another reason to shop locally. You know, even though Canadian Tire is a multinational store, it's run by Derek and his North Bay team and his North Bay family. Right. And I said, look, we want to take the $8 that the Chicken Soup for the Soul publishers kept and became multi-millionaires, okay? We want to take the $8 and give that to the local women's shelter. And I said to Derek Sjogren, again, Shop North Bay, I said, Derek, if we give the $8, we're going to sell the book for $20. If we give the $8 to the women's shelter, how much will you give me back? And he said, do you promise you're going to give the money to the women's shelter? And I said, well, first of all, this is North Bay. If we don't give the money to the women's shelter, they're going to kill us, right? You know. And I said, of course we are. I mean, why else would we do this? And he says, then I'll give you back the whole $20.
Wow.
And when I told the media everything, the media knew everything. They knew how much the book cost me, because the media kept asking, well, how are you making any money? You know, and it's like, so Penny and I, we helped, we got sponsors, and it was amazing. And long story short, after 30 days of sales, and we did something that no bookseller has ever done before. On the night of the book launch, there were 515 people at West Ferris High School. We refused to sell books.
Wow.
Everybody who got their name in the book got a free book, or got a story in the book, they got a free book. And then we said, I made a promise to Canadian Tire, Penny and I did, that you can only buy the book at Canadian Tire. So you got to show up at Canadian Tire.
That's awesome.
And so Saturday morning, I'm saying a prayer. I'm having a shower. I'm saying a prayer. And I said, Heavenly Father, how do we make this even better? And I get goosebumps on my left arm, but not on my right. And it was like, okay, what's going on here? Something's coming. So I get to Canadian Tire at 10 to 9, and there's a lady standing there, and she says, I want to be your first customer. And I said, I want you to be my first customer. We learned that in sales, right? They want to do something. Tell them yes. So I'm signing the book, Dear Mrs. Smith, Merry Christmas, you know, Barry. As I hand her the book, she touches it, and I get this zzz. Now, I call that Gmail, God mail. Some people call it gut mail, whatever your feelings are, right?
Yeah.
And it says, give her another book. And I'm sitting there thinking, what? Like, I'm talking to, like, remember when Bill Cosby, you did Noah's Ark, you know, like,
yes,
oh, Bill's
yes.
Ark. No. And I had to give her another book. So I said, okay. So I handed her another book, and I said, Mrs. Smith, I want you to have another book. She goes, no. I only want one. I said, I know you only want one, but I want you to take this one and sign it, and I will pay for it. Penny and I will pay for it, and we're going to give it to the military base. And she said, what? And I said, would you mind? And I said, there's no strings. And again, because this, to me, success happens in a moment. It's you take those G moments, those Gmail moments, God mail or gut mail, whatever, and they become reality. So she's signing the book, you know, dear troops, we love you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Merry Christmas. And I can see some tears in her eyes. I said, "Are you okay? Would you like to say anything?" And she goes, "No." And when she goes, "No," a tear fell out of her eye and fell on the book. And I said, "If you could give the tears a voice, what would they say?" "My brother's in Afghanistan right now."
Wow. Yeah.
So Penny and I, what we did, we made a decision on the spot. Penny wasn't there in that moment, but for the rest of the time, every time somebody bought a book, we gave a free book to the military. So we ended up giving 1,800 books to the military.
Wow.
I'm sorry, 1,600 books to the military. And Scott Clark was on the Santa Fund committee at that time. And I called Scott and I said, "Penny and I want to donate 750 books to the Santa Fund. So they could be, well, Scott said, "What's the catch?" And I said, "There's no catch. We just want to give you the books. You don't have to pay for them. We just want to put them in the basket." And they went in the basket. And at the end of 30 days, Penny and I got to stand in the lobby or in the boardroom of the Nipissing Women's Abuse Shelter. And we handed them this check.
Wow.
For $17,000.
Wow.
Because Penny and I said, success creates gaps, and we filled the gap. And that's what North Bay is all about.
Yeah.
Because of Penny, that was just what we did together. Penny had an initiative where she said, "You know what? Let's support minor hockey." And because, they were going selling chocolate bars, and what are you going to do with $1 from a chocolate bar? Penny said, "Why don't we put together a little committee of hockey players? They'll go knock on doors and sell the books, and we'll give $8 to the hockey players." So I went to Canadian Tire and I said, "Would you mind if we did this?" And he says, "They're going to buy their stuff at my store anyway. Of course, go do it." So Penny, if I remember correctly, it was $5,600 that they raised for minor hockey. And then we gave another, between Penny and I and all the people who bought the books, we gave $27,000 to local charities. That's why it's important to shop local. That's why it's important. If your heart is in North Bay, keep your wallet there too. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go and shop outside of the community because, we want people to buy our stuff and we don't live in the community. So there's a balance there, but you've got to be able to do that. So thank you for having Penny as a surprise guest. What a blessing.
I had no idea of the connection between you guys. None. 5 minutes, Barry, before you hopped on, I was texting Penny on something else. And I said, "Hey, why don't you be a surprise?" And she's like, "Okay, I'll do that." So this is pretty cool, man.
So cool. See, you listen to the Gmail, Godmail, Godmail.
I listened. I must have. I thought there was something there.
And then here's Penny in this book. Here's Penny in this book.
Penny on a check. Holy jumping.
Thank you so much for allowing me to pop in. And Bear, I love you so much. I miss you. And Paul, you told me privately the other day, which I guess I'll tell publicly, is that you've been really getting a lot of information, or you've been getting the right things flowing into your life because you've been meditating, and this is definitely a sign of how how everything is just so divinely intervened. So I love you both so much. Thank you for having me. I'll sign off now. And,
you can photobomb me anytime.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. Bye, guys.
Okay, love you. Bye-bye. See you after. Thank you. Oh, that's awesome, man. That was awesome. I had no idea of the connection.
I didn't know you were bringing her. It's like, this is so cool,
Minutes before, man. Before, I just said, "Hey, why don't you jump on? It'd be kind of cool." Now, I'm not even well, that was awesome. Yeah. Okay, so listen, so we've got the Tiger Factor that's out there right now.
Right.
That's the newest book. Where do they buy that book, Barry? How do they get it?
Just on Amazon. That's the only place. I've got a couple of copies in my private stock, so they can send me a private email. But that's it. They can only get it on Amazon. And so,
awesome.
But I'm not focusing my energy on the Tiger Factor right now because sometimes you feel called to do something.
Right.
And so for 20 years, I felt called to do something, and what I did was I put together a brand new book. May I just show it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. It's called "I'm Not Done Yet." It's for those of us who are over 40 who say, "You know what? There's got to be more to life than this." And I don't know if you can see the sign behind me, Paul, but it says, "When all you've ever wanted isn't enough." Okay. So there comes to a point in your life where there's a certain degree of affluence you've attained, and you go, "What? Now what?" Right? So this book it's called "I'm Not Done Yet," and I want, as a matter of fact, put your hand up like this, Paul. Okay, and those of you who are watching now, cup it like you're making a cup. Okay, Now put it on your heart. Okay. And say 3 times. I'm not done yet. Okay. Say we're going to do it 3 times.
Okay. I'm not done yet.
Move your hand. I can see your hand's not moving. Okay.
Oh, I got to move it?
I'm not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
One more time. I'm
not done yet.
And neither are you. And that's the whole point of this book, because the subtitle is Everyone Deserves an Encore. And it's all about all those things that we want to do in our lives and go for it, especially when we've gotten to the stage even after a bankruptcy, how did I start all over again? Right. And it's like, because we were wiped out. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but when we were in grade school, I mean, it was mandatory that we had to say the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And we would say it every day. And, you'd repeat it. But back then I didn't know what it meant. But there was a line in the Lord's Prayer that said, and please give us this day our daily bread.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And forgive us our trespasses. Right. I have no idea what that meant until in 2009, when I had that accident. We were going through the bankruptcy. Karen said, I still love you, but I don't want to be married anymore. Then they said, you've got cancer, get your affairs in order. And all these things happened at the same time. Now, thankfully, all of those things have been reversed. Okay. But I remember a time where here I am lying. I was in Toronto General. And then for 4 or 5 days, then they moved me to Princess Margaret. And they said, get your affairs in order. And it was like, and my default mechanism is humor. So I looked at the doctor and I said, I haven't had any affairs. And he goes, oh, that's not funny. And I went, yes, it is. So, and again, I turned it over to God. So, I don't want to make this a God call for those people who aren't into that, but I turned it over to God. And so here I am, Groundhog Day, they're saying, get your affairs in order. And August 5th of the same year, they said, you're cancer free. So awesome. That's kind of cool. But here we are living together, even though we're separated. Karen's coming to see me every day in Princess Margaret. I was there for 5.5 weeks, going to the bankruptcy attorney, signing the bankruptcy papers. And then when I get out of the hospital, they said, you can't go home alone, because I was living in a condo and Karen was living in an apartment with the kids. And it was like, they said, you can't go home alone. You're that sick. And Karen said, well, move back in with us. We'll take care of you. Meanwhile, I'm paying rent at both places.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was a time where give us this day our daily bread. 3 times, all we had to eat was Kraft dinner and frozen peas.
Yeah. Wow.
But we ate that day and things got a little better the next day. But that happened 3 times. So for those of everybody who say, it's all success. No. I mean, the yogurt hits the fan. What are you going to do?
Right.
So that's what this book is all about, is how to start all over again. And again.
Is that book available now on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. And again, I have a few copies that the publisher sent me to my home. So if you know my email address, send me and I can send it to you. But quickest way to do it is get it on Amazon. And for those of you who know my name, Barry Spilchuk, Spilchuk, in this crazy market of, it's hard to sell anything in this crazy market, right? I decided that, to me, I've always believed, like your dad and my dad, in the give economy. Okay, you give before you get, right?
Yeah.
So I decided, because, the book wasn't ready or anything like that, but now it's ready. But I said, I'm going to go online every day and I'm going to tell one story from the book for 33 days. So today is day 21. And so when I'm done my interview with you, I'm going to do so if you want to friend me on Facebook, you can see all 20 of the previous interviews. And it talks about real life stuff. And it's not just, oh yes, set your goals, have a good life, and bye-bye. It's all about, what do you do when the yogurt hits the fan? What do you do when, and again, it's for people who believe in God, and it's also for people who don't believe in God. Okay. So it's because the second subtitle is how to come one step closer to God. Okay. So, So it's about getting a second start. And if you want to use God to help you, fine. So,
yeah, I think this is going to be posted on Facebook. So everybody should friend up Barry Spilchuk, follow his content. I was watching a video the other day, incredible video. Awfully brave to post it. It was incredible. A lot of people would take a lot from that. And
is that the video about when I was sexually abused when I was little? Yeah.
I think that can relate to a lot of people. So, hats off to you. Took a lot of courage to post that.
Thank you.
And that was pretty incredible.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I mean, that's part of I think we're all given a DNA, and for some people who aren't God people, it's distinct natural abilities. But for those who are God people, it's a divine natural assignment. Okay. And it's like, what are we going to do with our distinct natural abilities or a divine natural assignment? And I've always been a big believer of, you find the bless in every mess. or blessing every stress. I mean, you could say, okay, you can't do anything about this, so what are we going to do now? Okay.
Right.
I call it the hero response. And not just because we did the You're My Hero book, but the hero response stands for the happened event, okay, plus the R, okay, is the response equals the outcome, okay? So what does that mean? The happened event, you've got cancer, get your affairs in order. My response is, I don't want to die, I want to cry. Okay, fine. Outcome, who knows? But somebody's gonna, this COVID-19 thing happens, right? Okay, that's a happened event. You can't control that, okay?
Right.
What can you control? You control your response. Oh, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to sit at home and eat bonbons all day. Well, you're allowed to do that. But you're also allowed to eat bonbons and create a new book or write a new story or create a new idea, you know, and then the outcome will be what it is, but it all depends on the R. So the hero response is HE, the happened event. Your response to it will equal the outcome. So that's how you become a hero in the eyes of yourself and your God and your family. And is just, you could take 100% responsibility for everything that happens, even though you might say, well, I didn't do any cancer thing. I didn't. Yeah, well, at the time, I was 432 pounds. I had $700,000 in debt. Do you think that might have had something to do with my cancer? God didn't give me cancer.
For sure.
I mean, so it's like, so we got to take responsibility without being a victim. Okay. And just say, okay, this happened. And, you know, and people say, oh, well, that too. And that, hey, stuff happens, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
How are you going to deal with it and move on?
Yeah. Barry, thank you so much for hopping on. Love having you. You've got North Bay. You got more North Bay in you than you have Toronto. And that's why I wanted to bring you here. So, so thank you. Say hi to your mom, your brother.
You're welcome.
And again, thank you for jumping on. I greatly appreciate your time.
My pleasure. I've got one more North Bay story if you want it, but if not, we'll do it another time.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So after I'm finished being the Chamber of Commerce president for a couple of years, you're only supposed to be 1 year, but they said, could you please stay on because you're nuts, right? Okay. And I said, okay, cool. And what happened in the middle of that reset? Well, as a matter of fact, let me ask you this. I'm holding up this. What do you see?
A heart.
Okay.
A red heart.
Color? Yeah, cool. What else do you see?
A lot of white paper.
Yeah. See, most people will just go, okay, I see that. Or there's a flaw in the paper, okay? And say, like, what else can we see? So after my chamber term was over, Nipissing University called and said, look, we're doing a big fundraising because we just got our charter and we need to raise money for building and all that kind of stuff. And Vic Fideli and Muriel Lucenti were in charge of the committee, and they each got paid $1. Okay? So the deal was a lot of other universities across Canada were building, but they were hiring fundraising consultants and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and sometimes a percentage. Muriel Lucenti and Vic Fideli did it for $1. Or it might have even been free, but I think they just, $1. Right?
Yeah.
So they put together a committee of different people, and Dave Marshall, who was the university president at the time, he said, look, you've got a big mouth. We've seen you in the community. You're doing, how'd you like to come and play with us and serve on the fundraising committee? And I said, yeah, but I'm the least educated guy in the city. I mean, I went to Canada College, right? I mean, and I love the college. I love my city. And they said, well, we'll let you in if you want to help. Now, there's the first thing is you got to ask. Because Canada came to me later and said, well, how come you didn't sit on our fundraising committee? And I said, well, you didn't ask. Nipissing did, right? Oh, okay. So all of a sudden, then the recession is just like a wave and it's blocking us. So they called a special meeting of the committee, and I'm sitting in there looking around the room going, what am I doing in here? I mean, I'm just a little guy trying to start my business, doing my thing. But, I had to acknowledge, okay, that I did play a role in the community. So yeah, I got something, but I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not sure if I belong. And they said, because of the economy, we're thinking of putting the Nipissing fundraising on hold until the economy's better. And so they had a lot of the university types were saying, here's why, here's why, here's why. But being a possibility thinker, I'm sitting there thinking, I said, I have an idea. And my self-talk said, did I say that out loud? And they said, oh, Barry, you have the floor. And I went, oh God, apparently I did, right? And it was like, I said, guys, I am the least educated guy in this room. I said, but I have an idea And this is my theory of recessions. And this is, I said, because as you know, in the chamber, we wouldn't talk about recession. We talked about what we want on the other side. I said, but if we save all this fundraising talk until the economy's better, who makes that decision? I said, let's just say Janet wants to build a house and she's got the money and she says, I want to spend $800,000 on a house, and she hires Joe to go build it. And Joe is all happy, and Joe says, and he goes home and he tells his wife, Mary, and Mary says, oh, good, honey, maybe we can buy that boat you've always wanted. Good. So they go and they buy the boat, and they make the arrangements to buy the boat. And the boat owner says, hey, maybe I can go buy that car. So they run on down to Hoppers or Stockfish and they buy their car. Okay. And this is awesome. And then the people at Stockfish go, oh, this is awesome, cool. And you know what? Let's take the kids on a trip to Disneyland. Great. But that weekend, our original lady decides she goes to a party, and everybody's talking about, oh, how terrible it is. And, oh, you know, better save our money for a rainy day. And all of a sudden, Janet says on the way home, you know, I've got the money in the bank. I wanted to build my dream home, but you know what? I'm going to put it on hold. So the next day she calls Joe and Mary and says, the house is off. Joe and Mary call the boat owner, can't buy the boat. The boat owner calls the car dealer, can't buy the car. The car dealer says, we're not taking the trip. So what does all that have to do with North Bay right now? Everything to do with North Bay right now. Yeah. For those of you who have money, okay, it's just money.
That's right.
Build the house.
It's energy. Just keep circulating it.
Build the house. Buy the car. You know, just, I'm going to save it for a rainy day. Well, it's raining. It's raining right now. And
it's snowing right now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because it's North Bay. It has to snow. It's June, and it has to snow. Right? So for all of those who have that mindset of, oh, I'm going to wait, what are you waiting for? Step into the now and say, now, of course, you're going to weigh your options and all that kind of stuff. And if you have to, spend the money in North Bay. I mean, when you go and look at the local sports teams, who are your kids playing for? They're playing for Greco's, and they're playing for Framemaker, and they're playing for Maine Travel and Gulliver's and Creative Learning. They're not playing, and the jersey doesn't say Amazon.com. Okay. Right on. It's all those people who said, yes, look, I've said yes to this community. We've supported you. Now you support us. Like all the people who donated money to the Nipissing, by the way, Muriel and Vic led a great committee. They decided we're going to do it while the recession was on. They raised more money than they thought, faster than they thought, because not everybody is sitting on their money.
Right on.
There's a lot of people who want to do good, and that's what North Bay is all about.
And that's like when I was at Toyota, we would Tim would sponsor everything.
Yeah.
And you know, all these sponsorships. And so now I say, look, it's now the foot's on the other, the shoe's on the other foot. Now it's up to us.
Yeah.
My light just came on to support those businesses. So that's a great point, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. So I have, there it is. Okay. I have these lights and they just magically came on. Okay. I got a 2:00 Zoom, so I got to get going, but
you're surrounded by angels.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Barry. I appreciate it. I'll put your link to the Amazon book in the post as well.
Oh, okay.
Just so that people can have a quick, easy access. I've read some of your stuff. It's incredible. They need to read it too.
Also, right? Paul, hey, I have another link. There's a lot of people are in stress right now, and I have a free thing. It's called the Unstuck Handbook. What I'll do is I'll post that link for you, and you can offer that. It's absolutely no charge. And it's about how to take all the stresses and line them up and deal with it. So
perfect. Okay. Can you just message me that link?
I will.
I'll put it in there.
Will do. As a matter of fact, will people be able to see the chat box here?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No,
so I put it in the chat box, but I'll send you. I'll send you the real link because that one might not work. So okay.
Okay, well I'll check it to make sure. But yeah, go ahead and send me that.
Okay, will do. Thank you for having me. North Bay rocks.
You're awesome. Thanks, Barry.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.